Theorist Jean Piaget, 1896 to 1980. Stage theory of cognitive development. The creation. Piaget disagreed that intelligence was a fixed trait. He considered cognitive development as a process which happens by biological maturation and environmental interactions. And children gave wrong answers to logical thinking questions. He was intrigued with the reasons that the children gave these wrong answers. And the important difference between adult and children thought processes. Piaget believed that it revealed important differences between the thought processes of adults and children. Piaget was the first psychologist to make a systematic study of cognitive development. The three basic components of cognitive stage theory include 1. Schemas, which are the building blocks of knowledge. 2. Adaptation process that enable the transition from one to another, including equilibrium, assimilation, and accommodation. Component 3. Stages of cognitive development. Sensorimotor, preoperational, concrete operational, and formal operational. The first component is schema. Schema can be thought of as a unit of knowledge, where each unit relates to one aspect of the world. These aspects include theoretical objects, actions, and abstract concepts. Piaget's work gave rise to the recognition that children construct knowledge through the ways they adapt to their environment. Using a schemata in education requires a teacher to activate the student's prior knowledge to new knowledge. An example would be asking students if they know what kind of living things live in the ocean during a unit on marine biology. This would help students activate the prior knowledge of the ocean and learn new knowledge presented in the unit. Adaptation. Adaptation is how a student learning how to play rugby for the first time and comes into a physical education with some football knowledge. So they're using rugby, new knowledge, and comparing it to football. Granted, rugby and football are completely different sports. The student can use schema of football to learn rugby. Scoring in rugby requires you to cross the ball over the goal line. This is similar in rugby. In rugby, you must cross over the goal line and make contact with the ground to score. Accommodation happens when a child focuses on mastering the new challenge until they realize an adjustment needs to be made. Adaptation, assimilation. Adaptation, accommodation. Accommodation happens when a child focuses on mastering the new challenge until they realize an adjustment needs to be made. Continuing from the application previously used for accommodation takes place when the student has mastered the idea by practicing how to play rugby and score a try in a game, which is worth 4 points. Students then begin playing touch rugby in the physical education class, passing the ball backwards to their opponents as they move up the field. The student whom has mastered the concept of a try must take the schema and demonstrate it on the field. Next comes equilibrium. Equilibrium takes place when a force moves development along. Piaget believed that cognitive development did not progress at a steady rate, but rather in leaps and bounds. An example, the student uses the existing schema from football to connect the schema to rugby. Once a connection is made, the student's development of a new schema moves forward from a force of knowledge. This is a diagram of adaptation. Assimilation. How adaptation works moving from assimilation to accommodation. Assimilation takes place, which is an existing schema, moves into equilibration, which forces move development along. Then a new situation takes place, and the student cannot fit the situation to an existing schema where disequilibrium takes place and the learner accommodates the new schema by mastering the challenge until new adjustments must be made. Adaptation, assimilation to accommodation. The stages of cognitive development include 1. Sensorimotor, which is birth to age 2. Is knowing an object that still exists even when it is hidden. That is a sensor motor. Number 2, preoperational, ages 2 to age 7, is thinking symbolically and making a word or object represent something other than itself. 3, concrete operational, age 7 to age 11, is approximately at the age of 11, individuals develop the ability to think abstract and can logically test a hypothesis. Piaget is best known for the 4 periods of cognitive development that he observed in children at various stages. Piaget forged new ways of thinking about how young children learn. His research has inspired the use of manipulatives in mathematics, play as an important learning activity, and integrated curriculums that help children recognize relationships more easily. A quote by Piaget: "When you teach a child something, you take away forever his chance of discovering it for himself."